How's it going, everyone? Data here, back at it again with another trade going down in the NHL this evening. Sorry, taking a few extra minutes before I went live, so I wanted to make sure I got it right, as it was reported by Tyler Kennedy, of all people, that Tom Wilson had been traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins, but that's not the case. The Pittsburgh Penguins this evening acquiring Mikael Granlund from the Nashville Predators in exchange for a second-round pick. Tyler Kennedy saying, Tom Wilson to the Penguins, stay tuned, hashtag let's go Pens. That got people going ballistic. So I took a few extra moments before I went live because I wanted to look into that, but no Tom Wilson, at least as of this moment, unfortunately, as the Penguins do acquire Mikael Granlund from the Predators for a third-round pick. Andrew saying, kudos to Ron Hextall for playing the longest of games and finally getting the last laugh on the Penguins. Just trying to get it done as an undercover flyer. Man, I gotta say, I'm a bit disappointed in the Penguins. It's good for the Predators. They get a player who is 30 years of age with 2 more years of $5 million off the books. But the Penguins, who move out Teddy Bluger earlier today as well, who waive Friedman, who waive McGinn to free up all this money, this is what they go for. Mikael Granlund, who, understandably, I will give it to them, fills a spot that they needed to be filled, third line centerman. They had one of the worst third lines in the NHL statistically. So they get help for that, which is very much what they needed. However, let's look at Mikael Granlund a little bit here. Veteran playmaking forward who usually is a center and has been playing center this season. He has decent enough passing metrics, but they haven't translated to 5v5 assists. Deeply averse to shooting and scoring. Play driving metrics are miserable. So in that fourth projected wins above replacement percentile, he was in like the 70th 2 years ago. Last year, a huge drop off, and this year even more. 8th percentile of even strength offense, 1st percentile of even strength defense. Yikes, man. For a player that plays that many minutes and getting paid that much money, that's brutal. But here's the good news. Those passing metrics sure are blue. Pens could use another player who can pass the puck. So although the teammates around him haven't been finishing, he's still in there for chance assists, for high danger passes, rush shot assists. This could be a Rickard Rakell type of situation where it works out in the long term and you keep him for a couple of years and maybe he even sticks around longer than that. Walter, Data is about to starve tonight with all these trades happening. Dude can't even make himself a meal. Come on, in the middle of what I'm eating. Then I was literally 45 seconds into an episode of Star Trek Voyager. Come on. Yeah, there were Tom Wilson rumors, but Tom Wilson, that was seems to be just Tyler Kennedy fooling around. So let's look at this season. Even strength offense and defense, not there. Goals, chances, shots, all that stuff, not there. However, give him better line mates. I don't know what he's going to have on the third line. Cappen's not there. Maybe he has Jeff Carter with him. I don't know, but give him power play time. Allow him to turn those 95th percentile chance assists and 96th percentile high danger passes into some opportunities that get finished off. That could be a very good pickup for the Penguins. And this is all best case scenario. Worst case scenario, he continues to decline and he costs $5 million for another 2 seasons for a team that doesn't really have the money and is in a win now mode. The bad news is the shooting and the finishing and the assists and the defense. Yeah, especially the defense. Yeah, my goodness, the defense. So let's take a look over the Pittsburgh Penguins, who it definitely costs them, not only in terms of giving a second and in terms of having more salary tied up future in the long term, but they do also move like 3 pieces to kind of make this happen. They move out Teddy Bluger. They then recoup a 3rd round pick. They move out or waive Brock McGinn. They waive Friedman. They have to lose some pieces to make it happen. So they have $260,000 in projected cap space at the moment, still hanging on to their own 1st round pick, but they don't have their own 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. They have New Jersey's 3rd, but now no 2nd. They still have their 1st, which is very good. But definitely changes things. Now, Mikael Granlund making $5 million for the next couple of seasons. That means almost certainly, I would think, that Jason Zucker walks. Jake Gensel, it's going to be a bit harder to keep him on since there's going to be 1 more year of Granlund right there. Rust, you have extended. Rakell, you have extended. Crosby, you still have for a bit more. Malkin, a bit more. So you're not super worried on him or Letang. Petrie also costing a lot of money. It's a pretty tight situation here in Pittsburgh. And yes, he fills a hole that you needed because you have Crosby, you have Malkin, now you have Granlund. That's a solid center depth. But again, looking at those numbers and considering that he's making $5 million for another couple seasons, a rental is one thing. But to take him on at this point for that price and the money that he's costing you, it's questionable, I do think, especially when they were in on Chychrun and they were in on other pieces and they cleared up the money. It's kind of like, let's just try and make something happen before it's too late. Not the worst pickup, but for all the pain that you went through, for all that you did, and for now what you'd like to get, it's a bit disappointing for the Penguins, who see the teams around them gearing up big time. And then for them, they just have Mikael Granlund added to the mix, who at his best and in the best case scenario is very solid, a premier passer even, I would go so far as to say, as we saw by those micro stats. But at the same time, it's risky. It's risky for a team that cannot really afford the risk right now. They're all in and they don't have many chances left to make it happen. Let's go check out the hockey ref numbers here. I'm still on Chychrun's page. Let's go check out the hockey ref numbers on Mikael Granlund. I don't have too much to say aside from the risk factor and pointing that out. This season, he has had 36 points in 58 games. So the point production is not bad. 64 points last year as well, over 50 assists. Over an 82-game season, he's usually good for a 38 assist, 54 point season. This year on pace for a 51 point year, so slightly below his average, but the return for Granlund is a second round pick. Rock and Scooby-Doo. The conditions on the picks for Chychrun, just top 5 protected first. The second, that can become a first if the Senators made it to the Eastern Conference Final this year, but I doubt they even make the playoffs. And then another second. So first and 2 seconds, but could be 2 firsts and a second if the Senators made the Eastern Conference Final, which will not happen, unfortunately. But yeah, Mikael Granlund goes to the Pittsburgh Penguins, a team that I'd likely seeing, I could see him staying on. I could see him staying there for a little bit, but it's going to be costly. And the Penguins are going to really hope that for $5 million, when they're already in tight situations, Gensel's contract is coming up, it's going to be tight. They're really going to have to hope that Granlund is worth every penny. And those high danger passes, those chance assists, those rush shot assists, those primary shot assists, they hope that they can translate into some great opportunities that are finished over on the Pittsburgh Penguins. If Max Domi's return is if Granlund's return is a second, what could it be for Max Domi? Could be a lot more. Well, not a lot more, sorry. It could just be more. At this point, I would think that it would be a couple seconds maybe. So the Predators now have 5 first-round picks over the next 3 drafts. 5 firsts, 6 seconds, 5 thirds, and 6 fourths. Shout out to Barry Trotz. I don't know if it's him pulling all the strings or what, but now let's take a look at it from the Nashville Predators' point of view. They don't need Mikael Granlund. They have no one to finish those opportunities. Definitely makes sense to trade him, but and they do get a lot of good picks out of that, and out of their other moves that they've made. They have 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 3 thirds, and 3 fourths in this upcoming draft. So 3, 6, 8, 10 picks in the first 4 rounds, 7 in the first 3 rounds. 2024, a first, 3 seconds, and then 2 fourths. And in 2025, they have those 2 firsts with the Janot first from Tampa still being in there. So the Predators are in a great spot. They're likely still selling more, I would think. I wouldn't be surprised if they move Dante Fabro, of course. But I think that's probably one of the last moves for now. No one's untouchable in Nashville. So I wouldn't be shocked if they tried to dump like Ryan Johansson or something, but at the same time, he's injured. He's still making a bit too much than like a $5 million team could swallow maybe, but 8, that's tough. So I would think that after the deadline, this team looks the same, minus Dante Fabro for another draft pick. But yeah, it's still Poyle per Chris Johnson. Yeah, Trotz is definitely contributing, I would think. But yeah, David Poyle's still the man in charge over there. Nemesnikov also going to the Sharks, which is likely part of another deal. Here's the tweet that I saw that made everyone go crazy. 265,000 impressions. Tom Wilson to the Penguins, says Tyler Kennedy, former NHL player and former Pittsburgh Penguin Tyler Kennedy. But not really any substance to that claim, unfortunately, as cool as it would be, as crazy as it would be to see Tom Wilson go to Pittsburgh. But he made a lot of people go crazy on that one. So it doesn't look like there's any salary retention. Can't believe it's only Tuesday. We had the Lars Eller trade happen as well earlier today. I would want to cover every single trade. It's crazy. I can't get a moment's rest. Looking forward to what the video says here. Several people I trust in Nashville say this is a better player than the analytics suggest, and he can distribute the puck well. Yes, that's what what I've seen here in the micro stats. That is absolutely true. Absolutely true. But if there is the same situation in Pittsburgh as there has been in Nashville, well, then analytics or not, he's not getting the job done. But I would think Mikael Granlund is now in a much better situation and will be utilized in a better role. But it did cost the Penguins getting rid of Teddy Bluger, who's a bottom six shutdown center. They lose Teddy Bluger, they waive McGinn, they waive Friedman, and they take back Granlund, who, if he doesn't work out, they're stuck with for another 2 years at $5 million. When they have the Gensel contract coming up, when they have, actually, let's go back to the Penguins here on Cap Friendly, because 2 years after this one, we're in 2025 offseason that contract expires for Granlund. Sorry, 2026. In the 2026 offseason, you would have already had to have made a decision on Jake Gensel, already have to have made a decision on Brian Dumoulin. Well, a decision. It's a big word, a decision, or at least pay a replacement at the very least, right? You would have already had to have had a new starting goalie in here. You would have already had to have had a top six replacement for Jason Zucker. So it's going to be a tight spot between 2025 and 2026 for Pittsburgh. Going to be very tight in that role, especially when I think about the Jake Gensel deal coming up, which he has only one more year at $6 million, and he'll be looking at, I would think, upwards of $8 million he would be asking for. Jeff Petrie at 6.25 for another 2 years after this one at 35 years of age. That stings. Again, go out there, have a crazy run, win a Stanley Cup, have Granlund become a huge success like Raquel was. No problem. A second round pick, that's not the issue. The second round pick is not the issue. The issue is the Penguins freed up all this space, made all these moves, were even in on Jacob Chikrin, and now all they have to show for it at the moment is Mikael Granlund. Mason commenting, weird one, that Fiala-Granlund trade is aging bad for Nashville. That's true, eh? Great point right there. Kevin Fiala now turns into a second-round pick. True, eh? This could cost them Zucker in the offseason. Yeah, I doubt Zucker comes back if he's wanting 5.5 again for multiple seasons. Nashville going through the retool, rebuild at this point. Yeah, absolutely. Ty Smith is next up for Dumoulin leaving. Was set to save big money there. Yeah, that's a good point there. Ty Smith will cost, but he won't cost what Dumoulin was costing. Loss of Bluger is huge, I think. Really underrated guy, a Barclay Goodrow type dude. And I agree with that. And furthermore, he was in pretty much the same role as Granlund will now be in. So you move a shutdown bottom six center for a playmaking center. Is that what Pittsburgh needed instead? Maybe, but you would think that when you're going on a postseason run, not to get too much into Teddy Bluger here, but it does add into the Penguins' day of transactions. 82nd percentile of even strength defense over the last few years, while everything else has dipped, or even offense has come up a little bit, but while overall he's dipped, the defense has only dipped slightly from like that 80th percentile, now maybe the 70th percentile, but still over the last 3 years, weighted average data, 82nd percentile. So it's an interesting experiment for the Penguins. They move an expiring guy who is a shutdown for a guy with term who's a playmaker, and the Penguins, Hextall, the Penguins, are going to have to answer for what they do. They're going to have to try and make the best of what they have and make it worth the last little run here with Crosby, Malkin, and Letang. Mason adding in again, sure, the second rounder isn't a lot, but the contract is a little high and risky for Granlund. Weird trade, but might be fair. I think the value is fair, absolutely. It's just that it constrains the Penguins even more than they were, so that might shoot themselves in the foot down the road. At the same time, it may help them offensively, but it hurt them defensively, so it kind of balances out maybe, right? So I would say overall, the Penguins have improved as a team without costing them too much, but it's going to hurt them a couple of years from now because honestly, as much as I'm pulling for the Penguins without really a horse in this race in the postseason this year, I would love the Penguins to do well. They'd have to pull off a huge upset, and not only in the first round, but also in the second round and definitely in the third round as well, before maybe they get an easier opponent in the Stanley Cup final and they get a well-rested Western Conference team. I don't know. Doggy saying Granlund playing with Zucker just like the Wild did. That's true. There's a little chemistry rekindled. Yeah, a lot of lives to do, Cornelius. A lot of lives to do recently, especially today. Let's see. NCamp 412. Do the Pens have another trade rumor going on? I heard something about Vancouver, but don't know if anyone is in reach with remaining cap space. That's the thing. I would think that talks are still going on between the Penguins and the Canucks. Yet, now they're at like what, 200,000 in cap space? That's tough. Yeah, maybe Walter, they can luck into some franchise kid in 2026, right? Because the Penguins now have 260,000 in cap space. If they want to make another move, they pulled their strings, waved some guys, traded Bluger to make it happen. If they want another big move, it would probably mean trading Jason Zucker, or at the very least, moving. I don't know. Maybe they can move Heinen and or Archibald to get a non-expensive player or someone at retained. Dumoulin, I wouldn't want to move him or Zucker if I'm the Penguins. But if you really have a deal that you can get for someone with term that it will maybe give you a better chance this season, I guess those are the only options. Tristan Jarry, some sort of goalie move coming in. But even then, if Jarry moves out at 3.5 and Demko comes in at 5, you need 1.5 million free. Mason Cap says Pens have LTIR used, but no one is there. Let me see this. Projected LTIR used at 1.123. Dead cap. Sorry, hold on, let me see this. Projected LTIR used. Goalies. Buried is Brock McGinn, costing them. Dead cap, Jack Johnson, costing them. That's true. I don't see anybody on LTIR here. That's odd. Is it that someone was on or came off? Maybe, eh? So maybe there's something to be said there, because the Penguins maybe are even over the salary cap right now. That's a bit odd. Yeah, usually Cap Friendly will have that in there. Maybe it's something to do with McGinn and Johnson, but even then, that would be more than that. So I'm a bit surprised there. Yeah, Dumoulin does have a 10-team no trade clause, so I doubt they even ask him to waive it, honestly. So yeah, tough situation for the Penguins down the road from now. Tough situation down the road from now. Are the Canucks still able to retain any salary, says Jay? If they could move Dumoulin or Ruda, the cap could work for Besser if they retain 50%. Yeah, it would be possible. The Canucks can still retain. That wouldn't be impossible. But they'd have to be value in there too, right? And the Penguins have already traded their second and their third and their fourth in 2023. So they have their first and New Jersey's third before they get to their own fifth, sixth, seventh here in 2023. Plus, they still have all their own picks in 2024 and 2025. Again, for a team that's trying to go for it, do they really care about those picks? Not too much, but it's still value that they could use for other moves, as opposed to using that maybe next year when the East isn't so locked up. Andrew thinks they're not trading for Besser. I would think probably not, but I would say that something with Vancouver is brewing. It does sound as though Besser is not happening as much as people might think it is. Encamp saying, I think they could stay put with Granlund. We are a stronger team, no doubt. Yes, I agree. Stronger team. Low-key excited to see him work. So am I. He makes us harder to play against. That's what I'm not sure. Depends on what you're talking about. You got to cover more high-danger slot chances and all that now? Yes, absolutely. But harder to play against defensively? Not so much if you're removing Bluger and adding Granlund to the equation, because Granlund's defense is non-existent and Bluger was very solid shutdown-wise. So for that reason, not as hard to play against. Offensively, yes. Those chances are being created at a much higher rate now with Mikael Granlund in your lineup than it was being previously. Does Tristan Jarry come back? I would think not. Could very well come back, but I would think not. Walter, Data, who do you have sneaking into the wild card spot in the East? Well, I think the tops. I'm not going to say all my playoff predictions. If your question is just who do you have sneaking into a wild card spot, or you're saying both wild card spots, eh? Well, let's look at this, Mark. If we say Granlund defense is non-existent, this is not just going to be coming from out of my mouth, right? Let's look at the stats. Bear with me, buddy. Bear with me. We just looked at the stats earlier on. I'm not sure if you were in the stream for that. Let's look at Granlund's defense here, and let's come to a balanced approach on this. Because according to the stats, it's not there. If we look at the even strength defense over the last 3 years, he is in the first percentile of even strength defense, the absolute first percentile. We're very close to the absolute bottom of the league when it comes to even strength defense. Furthermore, when we look at just his stats this year, he is in that 0th that 0th percentile of even strength defense. 0. He's a great player, but 0 for even strength defense. Take out Teddy Bluger, add in Mikael Granlund, you're a weaker team defensively. But add in 95th percentile chance assists. Add in 96th percentile high danger assists. Add in 80th percentile plus for primary shot assists, in-zone shot assists, rush shot assists. Yes, the Pittsburgh Penguins are a stronger team today than they were yesterday. However, we got to admit, we got to look at the stats. We got to be honest with ourselves. Mikael Granlund does not have any defense to his game, really. How many games have I watched? Well, I would say that I'd say at least 20 this season. But regardless of what I've seen, this is from his entire season. All stats shown as percentile ranks among forwards at 5v5 and per 60 minutes in 2023. So these are not my stats that I take out of my head that I watch after 35 minutes of hockey. These are stats over the entire season through various models. So maybe it's your first time seeing that. It could be, no offense taken, but it is definitely I think it's a fact at this point. I think that he's a great player, but the stats show that he is at the bottom of the barrel of the league when it comes to his defensive impact on the game. Not just his defensive play, but his defensive impact on the game. Because wins above replacement means how many wins are you providing for your team above a replacement level player. In the defensive aspect, he is providing 0. Not even 0.1, he's at the bottom. I don't mean this as a slight to him, because I think he's a great player. He's even close to being in the conversation of a premier playmaker, low-key underrated, a premier playmaker, but not defensive. Got to say that. Okay. So I think that's where we are at this point. And thanks a lot, Mason, for I very much appreciate the support out there. And Walter, I'll get to my wildcard thoughts to you in a second. Maybe remind me if I don't get to you soon enough. Data reporting everything today. Busy day. Show some love. Appreciate that, buddy. So that is, and NCamp, appreciate that. Well, I welcome the like. Thank you for stopping by even this evening and providing it. And you know what? If you want more breaking news and analysis in the real world of hockey, more breakdowns like this, be sure to leave a subscription as well, because we'll be doing a lot more leading up to the trade deadline on Friday, where we will also be live from 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern here on the YouTube channel. 3N5Z, do you see Kopitar and Doughty retiring together, or does LA trade them in the future? Excuse me. I mean, they traded Quick without even telling him. Yeah, I could see them trading them in the future, but I think Doughty and Kopitar are still at a high enough level, while Quick was kind of like being outplayed at times by Cal Peterson, not so much now, but also by Phoenix Copley, right? So if it gets to a point where Kopitar and Doughty are costing so much money in their middle six forwards and second pair D, could definitely happen someday. But as of now, as of next season, I think they're still very useful players on a strong team in a very weak division as well. So I think that the Kings are going to be happy to keep them moving forward. So I think we'll wrap it right there. Overall, I like it for the Penguins today, but I'm questioning and hesitant to say I like the trade longer term, as it will tie up the Penguins' resources moving forward. For the Predators, it's absolutely fine. Second round pick for a guy that you weren't using, who's 30 years of age, who had term, second round pick, no problem. But I think that's all that I have to say at this moment on that deal. We'll have more trades, maybe even this evening. That's what we said with the Hronek trade, and that's what we ended up coming back for. So we may have more analysis as it happens. So be sure to be subscribed for all of that breaking news. And of course, if you did enjoy the breakdown, I appreciate you adding your comments. Please do leave a like, as it helps out the video as well. And we'll be talking, I'm sure, very, very soon, as soon as the next trade breaks. And I'll look forward to seeing you there. So, Walter, I'll get you my thoughts in the Discord server, by the way. We'll discuss that further. Link in the description for the Discord server if you ever want to join in and discuss all the breaking news there as well. And we'll discuss I'll discuss my wildcard thoughts with you there. So, ladies and gentlemen, have yourselves a great rest of your evening. I'm going to try to watch an episode of Star Trek. Hopefully, I'll be able to get through it. Maybe we'll be back soon. In the end, the Penguins get stronger offensively while taking a bit of a hit defensively, not only bringing in Granlund, but also by moving out Bluger. And also at the same time, they waived Friedman, they waived McGinn, they freed up money, and they didn't end up getting to have their shot at Jacob Chikrin. And no other big names that also went in previous days. Are they still players with Vancouver? Do they still look for a big JT Miller splash or a Brock Besser or a Thatcher Demko or a JVR? I don't know. We'll have to see come deadline day. So have yourselves a great rest of your evening. Thank you so very much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.